Having a good pistol that you can rely on is really important. It needs to be reliable, it needs to be accurate. And outside of that, that's the main thing about having a good handgun. You need to be confident though with it, and you need to train with it. And for years, except for competitive type pistols, I never really did any kind of changes to my standard carry pistol or my home defense pistol. But then I began to understand that a really good trigger job could really make a world of difference. And for years I shot Glock Triggers. I was fine with it. I just learned how to shoot with them. But once I shot someone else's, one that had a trigger job done to their Glock, it kind of spoiled me. It's kind of one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. Having a good trigger is really important to accuracy.
What we've got here is a Gen 4 Glock Model 17 9mm. We just went through and did a little bit of trigger work on it for you, and we're going to pull it back apart and just kind of show you, walk you through some of the steps of what we did. Here you can see you've got your firing pin block, this little plunger button here. What we do, we take this out, recontour it a little bit, put a little lighter spring in it. It doesn't need a 18-pound spring in it, so we pull that out, and I'm being sarcastic for those of you that don't know. We pull this out, polish it, and recontour it a little bit, and this helps smooth things up. So here we go through on the the trigger bar. We polish all the contact surfaces and clean all of that up, and we replace the connector here and put a different connector in it. Put it all back together. One of the big problems that we see with Glocks, that a lot of guys that don't have any experience with them, they'll polish the backside back here, or recontour the backside of this, and it works really good if you're looking for a full auto uncontrollable Glock. But if you want it to be nice and legal and work like it's supposed to and have a reduced power trigger pull, you want to stay away from that little contact surface there. Ejector block and the trigger assembly all dropped back in. We'll just walk back through the reassembly process right quick. I know there's about 1,000 different ways you can take these apart and put them back together, and everyone has their own technique, and all the Glock armorers out there say, oh my god, he's doing it wrong, the gun's going to fall apart when he shoots it. I'm being sarcastic again. But really,
I'll know who to blame now, Robbie.
But really with these, what I found with them is find what works best for you, and that's the way you do it. Everybody does these things a little bit differently, but you can see here, and we started with about a 6.5 pound or so trigger on this one, and with that little bit we ended up at 314, 4, 4, right around 4 pounds. Your reset with it is a lot shorter, so you're not having to let all the way out on the trigger for the gun to fire. You get a lot shorter reset. So what we've got here, this is a Gen 4 Glock Model 17, and this is the Gen 3 Glock Model 20. What we found with the Gen 4 guns, when you put aftermarket trigger components in them, generally you don't get as good a trigger job on the Gen 4 guns as you do on the Gen 3 guns. I don't know if Glock has went in and changed some of the internal geometry on their ejector blocks on the Gen 4s versus the Gen 3s, but they just don't seem to work as well with the aftermarket components. None of the aftermarket suppliers have really stepped up and started developing a new connector and some other parts that work well with the Gen 4s. So everyone's still band-aiding the Gen 4s along with the Gen 3 parts to make them work.
What are some of the things you can expect out of the Gen 4 versus the Gen 3 as far as just regular? Because I know there are some differences, but
they are. A lot of the Gen 4s I've seen, you have reliability issues with them from the factory. I think a big part of that is with the dual captured recoil spring that they're putting in the Gen 4s. It's a lot heavier spring, and the guns are really oversprung now, versus with the Gen 3s, the spring rate was right with those, and the Gen 4s they're way oversprung. So if you get a combination of some light factory ammo coupled with a new gun and then the gun being oversprung, you can have some ejection issues.
So your trigger job, it's just easier to do a trigger job in the Gen 3.
They come out on the Gen 3s, the triggers come out a little better than they do on the Gen 4s. You have to do a lot more work to the Gen 4s to get it as good as a Gen 3.
Now, one of the things I noticed on the Glock website is they still have Gen 3. All the Gen 3s are still on their website as current production.
That's correct.
Right. Well, you talked me out of getting the Gen 4 on the Model 20 and getting going with the Gen 3.
Yep.
So,
yeah, the Gen 3s, I recommend anybody that's looking for a new Glock to go with the Gen 3 model versus the Gen 4. The Gen 3s they're just better all the way around. The whole system it's proven, it's been around forever. It's it's a small block Chevrolet of handguns. Everybody and their brother makes aftermarket parts for them, and the guns just work right out of the box. All right, so here we've got a Glock Model 20 and a 10mm. Bone stock gun, hasn't had anything done to it. So just to kind of show you some of the little differences with it. We'll start with a trigger pull, long creep. At 5 pounds 13 ounces for your stock trigger. A lot of pre-travel here, and then the brake, and then the reset. Which on this one, reset's not bad on this one.
but it's much mushier than it is on the once you slick it down.
It's very staple gun like.
Yeah, that's true.
It is. It's the most expensive staple gun you'll ever buy. With the Gen 3 or the Gen 4 Glock, for just a basic trigger job, you're looking at around $75, and that includes parts and labor. If you ship one in, you're looking at probably $15 for return shipping to send it back. We've got a kit that we're going to be releasing in the next 3 or 4 weeks. It's going to be a drop-in kit. It's going to run, I think, around $125 that the end user can order the kit, plug it in their gun, and have a 3.5 pound trigger right out of the box. Compared to a lot of the stuff that's out there, it's very, very competitively priced.
Of course, Wheaton Arms does a fantastic job with their Glock Trigger systems and other polymer frame pistols. And I'll have all of Robbie's information below in the description, so check out WheatonArms.com. A lighter, smoother, more consistent trigger will really give you good results at the range. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. So if you're interested with their Glock triggers, and
we do, we've got a couple of new models. We've got our start over, Don.
it's fine. But once I shot someone that had a trigger job done to their Glock,